Hello everybody and welcome to the season review vlog, or the show review vlog for Baccano. Oh my god, this is take 2. So previously I actually went over 30 minutes, so let's try to keep this quick. Now, I absolutely adore the show. It turned out very different from what I was expecting, and the final conclusions were actually really different than what I was actually hoping for and what I expected that would close out the story. But that is to say that the show is unique, not bad at all. Like, I have very few problems with it. Well, I have problems with it, but they are very minor and they are very few and far between. But let's get on with the statistics. So, or the mechanical facts. So, first of all, let's talk about the animation, because this is the department where I have very little to say. It's a very good. The art style is consistent. The art style is very beautiful to look at. It's very cinematic, and more than anything, it goes very heavily for atmosphere and very cinematic feelings, and that is pretty good, since that actually kind of supports the kind of a notion that the show has, which is that it tries to create very interesting and compelling scenes and emotions that don't actually kind of need to be very coherent in the overall random scheme of things, but rather they have to keep you entertained and keep you intrigued, while not actually maybe contributing as much to the plot as they could, but rather they just need to keep you invested in the show. And that, I feel like the art style definitely does support that. Not to mention not to underestimate the value of actually really kind of good animation. Now, the animation isn't exactly the best, but damn it if it isn't good. Like, it's really good animation. Like, it's very fluent, it's really impactful, and the show really does know how to keep, like, it doesn't have a lot of action scenes. Like, I mean, it does, but like, it doesn't have them all the time. But when they do, they look amazing, since they really sparingly use their animation budget to create very interesting scenes. Now, the show does have fluent animation, in very good animation in certain parts, but usually it just sticks to what it knows to be very good, but doesn't try to overreach. At the very least, it tries to keep a consistent art style in the animation parts. Alright, that was quick. There would be also something to say about the artistic differences between different eras of time, since those actually keep surprisingly consistent, and it doesn't show that much difference between different eras, but it does show minor differences. Like, there are differences between some hues and different settings, and clothing differences. There are generally some design differences between different eras, but that's to be expected. It's nothing exactly extraordinary, you know. Then let's talk about sound design, and this is where it might be actually kind of polarizing, since the voice acting I actually found to be really freaking amazing and really fitting, even though there were some not exactly as good voice actors, and there were some performances that could have been a lot better, but mostly those were for some side characters. But some of the main characters also have voices that you might not actually personally agree with, since something like maybe Firo and Chesla, and there are like a lot of options that you might not like as much as some other people. But I mean, I personally don't find any problems with any of the voice actors, but I can see some people having some problems with some of them. So, you know, but I don't think any of them are bad. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Like, this is definitely something. This is a show where it really can have very different opinions. Everybody can have a very different opinion about it. But I found, at the very least, all of the voice actors to be good and proficient at what they do. And then let's talk about the actual background music, because this is one of the show's greatest strengths. It's atmospheric and story-driven music, since the background tracks, they have a lot of unique background music, which only plays at certain situations. Like, some of the music actually does repeat quite often, but that's because they are very simple and mellow and very actually kind of good background music, such as the freaking jazzy theme, which I can't actually remember the name of. There are a lot of music that does repeat, but that's because they are easy to listen to and they don't really take over the spotlight of the story itself. But then there are of course some soundtracks, some tracks in the sound OST which are amazing and are played only very few times, since they emphasize the specialty and the importance of those situations, and those are very good. But it has very few of those unique, since it still has a surprisingly small OST considerably, but it still has it has a lot of repeating tracks, but it also has some unique tracks. It's some variety there, but it definitely knows how to spare the best tracks for rare circumstances. And it also has some soundtracks that are just freaking amazing. And the show actually does have a good use for silence at some moments, so yeah, it's a very good sound design and that department. Now, I would like to talk about the sound effects, but there's not all that much again here to compare, since the sound effects are actually pretty good. And I have to give special credit to the when the immortals start regenerating, since those sound effects are disgusting, and that is exactly how it should be. When the blood starts flowing back into the characters, it has to sound gross, and that's exactly what it does. So props to the show for that. It used sound effects properly and made them actually really good. Even though sometimes I actually felt like the sound effects were maybe not as good, or maybe less impactful than they could have been, but usually they were at the very least really good. Or they were very good at some points, and at some points it had a really varied performance. But at the best moments it was really good. And then I suppose we should talk about the story. Now the story, I actually was hoping that it would have some kind of wrap up, and kind of it could all come together into a one cohesive plot. However, the story did not do that. It definitely didn't wrap up the story completely. It did close on some storylines, but it didn't exactly tie everything together. It made sense for all the events to be placed on a timeline as they were, and it made sense how they were presented and in which order they were presented. However, this is where the show's unique standpoint comes into play, and that is that it doesn't try to be a cohesive, open and shut case story, but rather it tries to be a collection of events. It tries to be a snippet of these characters' lives. It doesn't want to be a closed story, but rather just a fun little slideshow, kind of. You know? The name Baccano truly does embody what the show tries to be. It's a random collection of events that just tie in together. It truly does kind of embody the sense of life that the show has, in the way that it doesn't exactly look like it follows any kind of general structure, but rather that it just happens to tie together. That is really perfect for the show, and it really does embody that feeling. And in such a way, I feel this kind of structuring and pacing that the show has is so unique and so peculiar that for a show that would try to accomplish anything else, if it tried to have an open shut story, I don't see it working out like that. This has a very unique pacing, which I cannot feasibly believe could be recreated with any other show that tries to accomplish a traditional storytelling structure. That is to say, the show is unique, and it performs the uniqueness well. The unique selling point is definitely emphasized expertly. It's quite amazing, and I highly enjoyed it. It's a very unique style of storytelling, and I greatly appreciated it, and I greatly loved where they went with the storytelling, and how they pieced together a story that didn't make sense, but then when we got more and more pieces, it just all of a sudden started making a lot more sense, and it actually kind of naturally flowed into its own story, in the way that life actually kind of. I feel like the show actually does a good representation of what life actually is, just a collection of random events that happen across one person's lifetime. And sure, it does run into other people's lives, and they do intermix, and they do affect each other. But it's not like there's any kind of grand scheme in life. There's no huge plan, unless you believe in predeterministic future, but that's besides the point. And I in such a way, like, I really do like that. I love how it presents life. Maybe not realistically, but in a real sense, it does embody the feeling that life isn't planned out, and life doesn't have a clear structure, but rather it feels random, in a way. You can plan as much as you want, but there will be events that you cannot predict, most likely. Just speaking generally. And this is actually embodied in my favorite two characters, who are Isaac and Miria. I feel like these two characters really do embody the whole sense of Baccano, in the way that they are random characters that run across all of the characters and affect their lives in one way or another, at the very least conversing with them, and sometimes literally running into them. And they really do have this sense of just joyful enjoyment of life. They are just a package of energy who are just enjoying life to its fullest, with its random events and its random strangers and its random encounters with other people, which just happen to tie together. Now, I do like that they are, like, I love every single character, and I would not change any one of them, since all of them have a different purpose for the story. They all have a different characterization, and all of them are unique and enjoyable in their own way. Like, the least enjoyable character would be probably some of the Gander family members, and that's just because they are only luck kind of gets as much spotlight. But that's not to say that the Ganders are even boring, because they all are unique characters, and they all have interesting intercharacteral relationships, and they all interact very differently. I do like that their characters still, like, one of the interesting aspects again of the show is that it portrays that events happen that are outside of your control. That there are things going on in the world that you have no control over, and it does portray this kind of chaotic sense that world sometimes feels to have. And I like that the show does. I feel like the show presents it well. I like all of the characters, even those that came in, or those few characters that were showed up in the 3 last episodes, which admittedly it was good. It had maybe the best coherent structuring of the whole show. However, it also flowed into the rest of the episodes rather well, and they definitely weren't pointless. It just was more of the fun and character interactions. Now, I feel like I could just watch a show about Isaac and Miria, or Lad, or Vino, or Shani, or basically almost any one of the characters, since they are all enjoyable, lovely people. Now, the show isn't perfect. The beginning is really kind of strange, and when you begin the story, it really doesn't make all that much sense. The first episode feels really out of place. The overall structure is kind of unclear until the 3rd or 4th episode, depending on your train of thought. And the overall pacing is very, very unique, and kind of can be hard to grasp could be hard to grasp. And some of the voice acting could be bad, and the story may not personally appeal to everybody, but overall I feel like this is one of the, it's a very unique show with a very unique style and pacing of the story, and I greatly enjoyed it. Now, I don't begrudge anyone who doesn't enjoy it, since, as I said, it's a unique show and it has things that some people definitely won't enjoy. But still, it's a unique, creative, and a beautiful masterpiece. Now, one last note. The director of the story did an amazing job, not only with the whole direction of the animation, but also sound direction and all of the, the director deserves special applause here for basically everything. But I won't go too deep in that. So, thank you all very much for watching. I'll hope to see you in the future. Have a great day and stay awesome. Ganmu out. Thank you very much for watching.